Attention American poker players! Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the field.
Welcome back to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. I just want to take a quick moment before we get into today's episode to thank you, the listeners, for checking out the podcast. We actually just wrapped up one of our best months ever for listens, and that's because of you, so thank you very much. If this is your first episode, or you haven't already done so, go ahead and click the subscribe button on Apple, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Also, if you take the time to rate and review Poker Stories for us, let us know with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player magazine. This is episode number 35, featuring one of the most important figures in the history of televised poker, Mori Eskandani. Mori came to the U.S. in 1975 for college, and after a series of failed jobs and businesses, he became a poker player. He moved to Las Vegas in 1985, and he spent many years grinding out a living playing cash games. Then he met Henry Orenstein, the inventor of the hole card camera, and with Mori's poker expertise, they launched Poker Productions, and that is responsible for some of the best poker shows on TV ever, like Poker SuperStars Invitational, Poker After Dark, the National Heads Up Poker Championship, High Stakes Poker, the Super High Roller Bowl, and even live coverage of the World Series of Poker. The bottom line is that you'll hear great stories about his time as a player and his time behind the camera. Enough intro, here's my conversation with Mori Eskandani. I am here with Mori Eskandani. How are you doing, Mori?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. You're looking good these days. We're just talking about how you haven't aged a day in the last 15 years.
Well, I started out old.
Yeah.
When you start out old, you never change.
I think you're looking good. For those that don't know, still president of Poker Productions, a company you started in 2003.
In 2003, that's right. The company now has merged with another company. Mm-hmm. So I'm more of my role that I love, which is executive producer. Yeah. So I'm not doing really day-to-day business.
Mm-hmm. I want to get into the day-to-day because some of that day-to-day, is where you pull your hair out. And,
of course.
Exactly. Yeah. But let's go back to the beginning, back when you were playing for a living. Okay. Even before that, let's go back to Iran, right? So you're in Iran. Dad's got a company, import-export.
That's right.
And he says, son, go to America and expand our business.
That was the part of it. I mean, he always loved to be a one-stop shopping center.
Okay.
He didn't want, we were doing import and export, and he wanted me to handle the shipping.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't have to have middlemen arrange for the shipping. That was the plan.
Yeah.
And it got
you were
turned
still young,
around.
Right?
I was 18 actually.
Mm-hmm.
It got turned on its head at least 10 times 100-fold. So that was the plan.
But basically, you're in the States to do that. You're in school at the time?
I was at school.
Portland State University?
Portland State University.
What were you studying?
Business administration.
Okay.
Right.
And the goal was, graduate and then do that with Dad. But then, obviously,
Revolution
in Iran,
the war, and everything else that
that kind of
ordinary life.
Yeah, just totally everyday standard things. But obviously, that throws all the plans up in the air. Right. And what did you do? Like, did you finish school? What was the plan? What was the goal in mind?
I did finish school. My in the middle of all that, my father also passed away, which was holding the company and everything else together. So with every principal role in my life changing so rapidly, I mean, the country that I knew.
Oh, your whole world falling apart.
Right.
Yeah.
And my father passing away and all that.
And you're in the States and you don't speak a ton of English, right?
Right. I mean, first 2 years for sure. After that, I could definitely communicate all right. It was hard. It was time of confusion, time of trying to figure out what exactly is being dealt here and how am I going to play this one.
Yeah.
And I always said life played so many games with me that turned me into a gamesman.
So at what point, I mean, obviously you were playing cards up in Washington, kind of on and off.
Vancouver, Washington. Yeah, we played completely on and off. It was when we had the time.
Yeah, but you'd known poker for your whole life, right?
Yeah, I've played poker, actually taking a shoebox and cutting the cards out of it because we weren't allowed to have cards. And played strip deck with no sixes in it.
Okay.
I think sixes are in it. Sixes are in it, but no 2, 3, 4, 5 wasn't in it. 32 cards, whatever. I can't remember now. A long time ago.
A lot of big hands.
Yeah, 5-card draw. That was the game that my cousin taught me when I was 7. And I thought
you weren't a stranger to poker. I think a lot of people, they see you with the headset on at the World Series and they think, oh, that's a TV guy. He doesn't know anything about poker. Or people who know you from poker go, oh, that's a poker guy. He doesn't know anything about TV. And then the reality is you're
They're both right. They're both right. No, well, I haven't played competitively in obviously in a very long time, but I did play as a daily grinder, mainly cash games for 25 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That is a long time to make a living playing cards.
I still play. I mean, I play now like I was playing in college. I play now maybe 2 or 3 times a month when the opportunity arises, and I'll come out. And never a long time. I mean, maybe the longest session I ever play maybe 5 hours. Usually like 2 hours or 3 hours. I still obviously love the game. So.
Yeah. But you're in Vancouver, Washington playing. And is that where you were working?
I was working for a company in finance.
Yeah.
They were providing it was loan procurements for small businesses mainly, and it was really weird time then too. The interest rates were like 23%, 18%, completely opposite of now. I don't know how that works, but. Like just the bank rates were very, very high in any loan. It was extremely high. I mean, you could...
Makes me feel better about my mortgage.
Yeah. I don't think mortgage rates were that high. It was just borrowing money. You paid high interest. And the banks paid high interest back to CDs and all that. Again, I don't know how that works. Now it's like 0.5%. It was 18, 16, 12%. Yeah. But anyway, they paid me for first month of work. And then they were struggling. And I stayed with them for a couple of months. And I was within walking distance from the poker room that I used to go when I was in college. So...
this is early 80s?
This is, 80, 81, 80, 1980, 81, 82, somewhere there.
So what games were you playing back then?
We played 5-card stud. And then it changed into 7-card stud. And it changed into Hold'em. Hold'em came, it just like dominated the city, Vancouver. It was the same thing, like Vancouver was a very small sample size of the whole world.
Yeah.
Everybody played draw. Then it went into 5-card stud, came in, okay,
And the Hold'em craze.
And then the 7-card stud, everybody thought, oh, this is a lot more fun than 5-card stud. Of course, Hold'em came so much faster, fell in love with it.
So you're in Vancouver, you're working this job, doing a great job, I'm sure. They're not paying you because the company is, having some hard times.
Right.
But poker's paying you.
Poker was doing fine, and I was basically making the ends meet by leaving work at 5 and walking over to the poker room.
Working for free.
Right. And playing for until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and going home. And after the second months of them not paying me, going to the third month or 4 months, my wife says, why are you doing this? I mean, why don't you just play poker if you're going to bring money home?
So your wife is the one.
She's the one that pushed me into playing poker. Yeah, she kept saying, you're making money here and you're not making money there. And what are you doing? So
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in business. I mean, it's the thoughts. It's how you grow up in that atmosphere. We had a pretty huge conglomerate. Like I was in the business world all the time. I would sit in my dad's office or go to places that we were operating in 6 different cities and all that.
It's just what you thought you were going to do.
So I thought I was always like in that mode. I was going to start a business, do business, and all that. I never thought I was going to play poker. I really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this just came out of nowhere.
So were you looking at it as like a temporary fix?
I was, and it was a temporary fix that almost became a necessity because definitely didn't have the experience, nor did I have the finances and the funds to start something. And poker didn't take, it didn't have a lot of money to start making money.
Yeah.
I think when I was playing in Vancouver, like my bankroll could have been $1,000. It was more than enough.
Yeah,
the games we were playing.
More than enough to get in, cash out, pay your bills.
Out, yeah, and just making $200 a day. It was, it was crazy days. If
you
I
could live off $200 a day now. Back then, I imagine you were rolling.
I was rolling, yeah, for sure. Like I remember going home and reaching out my pocket and separating the bills. The 20s goes there, 10s goes there, 100s goes there. I remember that. And
that's gotta
every
be a good
day,
feeling.
if I lost 2 days in 1 month, it was depressing. It was so strange, a strange time. I mean, everybody gambled and everybody played for fun, and if you were a little bit serious about the game, you couldn't lose.
So from interviews I've read and some podcasts you've done before, you basically said that you took that poker money and then tried to start some businesses with it that didn't work out.
I did.
Yeah.
I had 2 failing businesses.
Still holding on to that business idea, right?
Yes, and it was make a full circle, and none of the business ideas I had. One, it didn't take that much money. I could actually finance it myself. And the second one was with the help of family and friends and all that, which cost me a lot of money. I ended up paying it back playing poker again. Yeah. But in full circle, it came back from playing poker, doing business of poker. So what has been constant has been poker.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing that gets you through, huh?
Right.
So you're deciding to come to Vegas, right?
Right.
That's when you're officially turning pro, I guess, is what you're going to call it?
Yes. Well,
you still have those business,
Yeah, but this is where all the pros lived.
Yeah.
And this is where... And I was afraid. First I was skeptical. Like I'm going to come here, and these guys are the best in the world.
1985.
1985.
Wow.
Nobody really realized. I mean, I didn't realize that there are a lot of tourists go through the city, and there are a lot of recreational players, rich businessmen. They don't care. They're here having fun, and this happens to be one of their passionate games. And they sit down and play with anybody. They don't care. It's not. They're not here to win. They're here to have a good time, and compete in this game. So that I realized quickly when I first came here, just like to test things around. I actually played, believe it or not, 80 hours in 1 week.
Wow.
At the Stardust.
That was like your let's see how this goes.
Yes.
And how did that 80 hours go?
I won $6,000, and I hadn't. It was the first time I made money in like 2 years that I was in business. Business was losing like every day, all that, and this was I truly started thinking, you have no choice.
That was just based off of a loan from somebody, or like?
That was, yes. It was $1,000 loan.
Somebody stake you?
And then, $1,000 just, come try this. And I came and tried it, and boom. Next thing I know, that same week, I rented a house for $550 a month. It was a pretty decent house. And it had 2 pomegranate trees in it.
Okay.
Ever since then, every single house that I've lived in and bought, I have planted pomegranate trees in.
Yeah?
That's been a tradition that I've kept for 40 years.
Does that work for everybody or just you?
Just me. I mean, it's...
I don't have a green thumb, but I'll try anything,
No, pomegranates actually do really well here in the city.
Okay.
And people are starting to realize that that's their good antioxidants, good for you.
I got to find myself a lucky lucky tree or something.
Find a lucky tree. Yeah, that's been my lucky tree. So like if I guess that's my superstition. Wherever I go, I need to plant a pomegranate tree.
So you're playing. It's the '80s. Tell me about poker in the '80s back then. Like what? Stardust, I'm guessing. Mirage wasn't around then.
No, Mirage. We played at the Stardust. We played at the downtown Golden Nugget, and a little bit at MGM. Caesar's Palace was just coming on, and then it took over.
Yeah.
I mean, where most of the games were at Caesar's Palace.
Okay.
We're playing, and the game that was became very popular was 7-card stud. I mean, Hold'em was still popular, but 7-card stud was the one that 15, 30, 7-card stud when the must move just got started in the city. I remember having like 7 or 8 15, 30, 7-card studs at Caesar's Palace. It was that popular. To this day, I don't see that many of any game.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes maybe a 40-80 Hold'em at Commerce Club I've seen to have 6 or 7 games. But usually there's not 6 or 7 games of any kind in anywhere, in any casino.
Unless it's like 1-2 or something.
Yeah. 1-3 no limit. I should take that back. I'm talking about limit games.
Yeah.
But, we played there, and then the Mirage opened up and emptied Caesar's Palace that same day that they opened up.
Really?
It was a damnedest thing.
It was that dramatic.
They just opened up, and people just cleared Caesar's. They all went to the Mirage. I mean, the Mirage was so beautiful, so different. And my good buddy Eric Drake was the card room manager. They had the reputation of taking care of the poker players. So people
Eric Drake, who invented satellites?
Who invented satellites, who was the original WSOP director of WSOP for 17 years. He started it. And I always give him credit for someone that was pulling poker forward without internet and without hole cams. He was, just pulling it forward. So,
well, it's funny you brought up tourism or the tourist who played cards when you first came to Vegas, because on Daniel Negreanu's podcast, he was like praising you for being the best poker player with the tourists, with the fish, making them happy while they lost. Which is something that people don't do as much today, you know what I mean? And it actually explains your skill set working with players on TV as well.
Well, poker, I mean, I've thought about this quite a bit, actually. You bring it up. Let me just run some of the hazy thoughts that are in my head.
Go for it.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this has been, daunting me lately. I think the same nerds, for lack of a better term, that elevated poker so much are now actually causing some destruction, and they have to be careful.
Can you clarify what you mean by nerds?
All the computer whiz that came into poker, and they tried to solve it by running this. I mean, the pervasive math that's everything that we do in this game now, trying to solve and put it on the table. That's not how poker goes forward. I really believe poker is a street game. Once you take the psychology and the elements that most people understand and enjoy and turn them all into math, they're going to start not seeing too much pleasure in it.
Right. It's the argument of playing robotically versus playing with some sort of style,
right?
And, more artistically.
And it's difficult. I mean, it was game of bluff and sandbagging and being aggressive and slow playing, everything that people understood, to going into all of a sudden, C bets and UG +1 and value. I mean, that stuff just, it's okay with a lot of kids that want to play, but it's not okay for 95% of the general public that you want to attract to the game.
If you want to become a poker professional and win at the highest levels, you're probably going to need all that. But if you're trying to sell poker to a big audience and grow the game,
right,
it's not the way to go.
That's correct. And also, I mean, all that doesn't, so much of it applies to cash games, but cash games still hold some of the old adage in them. You still, because you can change the rules while you're playing. Yeah. You can add to your chips. You can.
Also, there's not raising blinds and the timer that forces people into making more mathematical decisions.
I was so against mixed games. If you talk to me when I was a professional, and if you ask, what do you think of the mixed games? Even though I actually phrase the name horse at the horseshoe.
Yeah, really?
We start playing it. I was actually, we were playing the 5 games, but they would put it on the board, S-H-O-R, and we were at the horseshoe, and I looked at it and said, you know what, this looks familiar. So wait a second, this is horse.
It says horse.
Yeah. Although we did it because some of the players that would come from different states, they like to play Omaha. Mm-hmm. So the first one started with Hold'em in Omaha. And then somebody came in and wanted to play stud and Raz, and then we played all the 5 games that were popular.
Wow, you were
at the
there.
time.
You coined horse, huh?
Horse.
Who did shoe? Who coined shoe?
I also did shoe.
Okay, you just like I don't like Raz, so
right.
let's
yeah,
go
but
play some
I
shoe.
mean, then a whole bunch of stuff came in, but that's not a big deal. I mean, the games we were playing the 5 games, and I kept thinking if 5 games doesn't allow anyone to go on tilt.
Right.
I hated it because, you know, like you could put somebody on tilt playing Hold'em, and then it changes to stud, and then their mindset different after that, and then changes to Raz. So you really couldn't put anybody on tilt.
You're over here trying to shear some sheep.
Right. It was like a big part of the game. People go on tilt. You don't go on tilt. You have the best of it. I mean, it was just, you know, like we're talking about psychology. But I've changed. Like if you've talked to me, I'm saying, yeah, bring it on. You know, like just do variations, do different games, because make the math be less and less in these games. You know, like I know there's so many variations. I mean, too much of a good thing is bad too. I'm not saying go into all these crazy games, but maybe like even modifying the games just enough to take the math out of it and add the psychology in it is a good thing for poker, because that's what people enjoy.
And it'll get recreational players playing again.
Of course. I mean, if it turns it all to math, they might think they have no chance, and sometimes they don't.
I want to get back to your thoughts on poker on TV and just poker in general. But first I want to talk about, you know, kind of like getting to this point when you met Henry Orenstein.
Henry Orenstein, yes.
Yeah, can you talk about that story?
Well, yeah.
Henry Orenstein has like 180 inventions, right?
He has
like
a lot of
patents
patents.
Or something.
He does.
He invented transformers.
It doesn't matter. Henry can walk and invent because he doesn't like to see things without changing them.
And he was a poker player for fun.
Right.
And he had an idea for whole card cameras.
He always liked to see what people had.
Mm-hmm.
And when he played with us, he really enjoyed playing with me. And every time I throw my hand away, he'd try to grab it and look at it.
Oh, really?
Which
Did you tell him?
Of course. I mean, a couple of times I tried to slap his hand, but
yeah.
After that, I just gave up. You know, this old man is he wants to know what you got. You know,
yeah.
And he loved the game. 7 Cards was the game that we played, and he loved it. So one day, and I've told the story a few times, one day he tells me, I watched poker on TV. I said, yeah, it comes on TV, 1 hour, you know, World Series of Poker.
Yeah, back then it was like a summary show.
Yeah, it was just highlight
like
show.
Like a recap.
Because they tried to do it live once, and they ran into, there were 3 players left, Doyle Brunson and Rod Pete and McAvoy.
And Tom McAvoy.
And they thought this was going to be like some sort of a football game that'll be over in 3 hours. And they didn't realize, CBS guys, that this could go until 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it did. So that was the last time they tried to do anything with poker. And it turned into just one live show. ESPN.
It's a big production cost when it's running that late.
Yeah, it was just impossible. They didn't know what they walked into. And sometimes we still ran into that. But that's okay. We are well prepared.
I've been on some sets that went over 15 hours for sure.
Yeah, we are well prepared for that. But anyway, so
you're talking with Henry. He's still looking at your cards.
And he said he didn't like it. He said it was so boring. You know, you look at people, but you don't know what they have. I mean, what kind of, this is terrible. I said, so what do you want to do? He said, well, we should see players' cards. We should just put like, and it's like a simple thing. It wasn't like he was coming up by saying, let's have RFID in the cards. And he says, let's cut a hole on the table and put a glass on it.
Right, because it wasn't the camera in the rail back then.
Right.
It was the glass hole on the table.
So when you put your cards in, we put a camera underneath it, and then it catches the cards, and that's the end of the story. And of course, by the time this idea, and he wanted me to help, and I tried to argue against it at first because, you know, I didn't think players are going to show it. I didn't think players just not going to show
some
their
players
cards.
said no right away, right?
Yeah, I mean, most players I talked to, they started laughing. Yeah. And some players are still laughing. But we know, you know, that.
Eric Seidel was the famous one who was like, "I'm not doing it."
Yeah, Eric Seidel still doesn't want to show his hole cards. I know it. I know it. Deep in his heart, he thinks, like, hey, everybody sees what I'm doing. Yeah, Eric, you got like another 150 gears, so don't worry.
He'll be fine.
You're safe.
So Henry basically says, I got this idea, and you two try to shop it as a show, but no one's listening to you until WPT comes along, right?
No, because what we were doing was actually, the table part of it was easy. Mm-hmm. So, and very, very expensive at that time.
Yeah, that's right. Like you told the story about building the table.
Yeah,
right?
we built a table with several engineers, and it didn't turn out to be just put the cards up and the camera underneath. It turned out to show you put the cards and have the mirror image, have a mirror, two mirrors basically, to reflect the pictures of the cards into a camera that was sitting in an angle. Wow. I don't know why they came up with that. I don't know, but they figured it. And then the mirrors couldn't get dirty, dusty. So these mirrors were like, I still have the mirrors. They were, I think 2 inch square mirrors. They were $2,000. I'm not making this up. I mean, like you can throw dust at it. It just slides right out.
Wow. And
they were telling us like they use these as a space shuttle. So I'm sure they said that to sell it for $2,000. But whatever it was, that table cost $600,000. $600,000 for that table to get finished. And it took about 4 or 5 months. They took a poker table, they cut the holes, they put the cameras in, they actually like hooked up everything to a computer that would take the pictures and transmit it to another monitor, and you could actually like do live graphics on it.
This is the Rolls Royce.
Do the stats. Yeah, the whole thing was there. Like we could drop it in somewhere and put the trusses up, light, camera, go. And but the idea Henry had with the game was so difficult. So we were playing 7-card stud. We were going to play best in the world, and Doyle and Chip and Barry Greenstein, Phil Ivey, Gus Hansen. We were playing 7-card stud with the best in the world, and he wanted to actually create a mutual betting from that. He wanted to like stop the game every 2 hours, have people go to the window and bet on players. So if you took a few beats and your chips went from 400,000 to 100,000,
like betting on any sport.
Exactly. I know this is hard to believe, and I know this would sound like I'm doing drugs or drinking and talking, but we actually pulled it off.
Yeah,
we actually partnered up with this Leroy's, I think it was called, a sports betting company in town. They were in 60 different sportsbook. And Henry had hired attorneys to argue the case or present the case to Nevada Gaming. And we had a tentative okay for the table. Now, imagine those days, Nevada Gaming and any kind of electronic device close to a gaming table.
Yeah, they'd freak out.
Absolutely. Like if you had anything, any little device,
that's
underneath
how some
this
gaming
table,
commissions are today. Yeah. Not Nevada, but yeah.
Right. Underneath this table was nothing but electronics.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been transmitting somebody's whole life story, not just the whole cards. It looked that way. So, and we had that okayed with the attorneys, and we were working very close with Leroy's to make this happen in Nevada. In the casinos, you could actually go bet, and this game was going to start.
Yeah.
And then something happened with that company, and they got shut down. And that just put us, almost a year of work. It just like stopped.
You got $600,000 on the table. You've got fighting for the Nevada Gaming Commission.
And in the meantime, we've knocked on every door. I mean, from every major broadcast, we've knocked on their doors and tried to get this on.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't see it. They couldn't see what we were talking about. They couldn't see why it would be attractive. They couldn't see it. And main reason, I think none of us were TV people. We came from, I came from world of poker. Henry came from world of toys.
Yeah.
And games. I mean, so we knew games. And we used sometimes translating that into broadcasts is not easy. Like, why am I going to watch people play poker?
So you can't
try
find...
to explain it. It's hard.
You can't find a customer for this wagering, kind of like a pari-mutuel poker show?
Right. We wanted to do a live broadcast from this table, and people are watching, and, like, start a new sports. Like the whole world bet on it.
Rather than betting on dogs running around in a circle,
right.
you
Henry
could bet
never
on...
wanted to do anything small. Henry wanted to dominate the whole world, and then was thinking about how do we broadcast on Mars. But... So
and that's when WPT came to him and licensed out his hole card camera?
Actually, before WPT, there was another outfit in Europe. I'm trying to think. Barry Hearns was...
Late Night Poker?
Late Night Poker. Mm-hmm. So they came in and licensed, because Henry had a patent on that design to do it in Europe. So I think they were the ones that first actually broadcast people playing poker. I think Devilfish was playing or something.
Oh, yeah.
And but Steve Lipscomb, WPT, who were TV people now, and they could see the merits of all this, they set it up, and they came up with, maybe it's better if we do this as a post-produced package shows than live shows. And because hands can go on forever and nothing can happen. I mean, let's show the good hands.
They
and
sold
the exciting
it to
part.
Travel Channel,
and he was part of the Travel Channel. They took it in, and then all of a sudden, when it hit the air and they had like 2 million people watching, it just turned on everybody's radar. What is this? What? Like Travel Channel was an unknown channel. All of a sudden they have 2 million viewers. Like it just ricocheted on. We had no problem after that going to a major broadcaster says, hey, remember we were talking about, this is what we were talking about.
So Poker Productions already existed at that point. Now you had the blueprint. You could show people and say, listen, it's working here. I've got better ideas. Let's do this.
Poker Productions was not. It was another company called H.O.R.E. That was Henry, and, I was the general manager of. Mm-hmm. That existed. And that's who, that was a company that was pitching poker to the broadcasters. Mm-hmm. But they knew me through this company. They, the major broadcast companies knew that I was involved with poker. As a matter of fact, while I was doing this, I was helping on another show. I can't remember what show it was. They asked me to go help to to produce it, and before that was done, another show wanted me to help with it, so I was just like getting dragged in. Anyway,
your profile's rising. You're becoming known as the.
I was getting dragged in, so I was determined to learn. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was all new to me. I didn't know. I couldn't spell a mic from.
But you knew the game.
One into the camera.
You knew the personalities.
That was my advantage.
I
knew the game and I knew the players. So now I had to learn TV, and there's anyone that claims they can learn TV, they're crazy, because TV changes a lot faster than your cell phones, and the technologies are just completely like every year somebody introduces something. I didn't know that. I thought it was your camera shoot. Then I didn't realize so much is going to change. So I was pretty determined those years to learn it, and I would sit with editors, work 2 shifts with them, just to see what they're doing and understand it.
That was for Poker SuperStars Invitational?
That was Poker SuperStars Invitational. As soon as I get somewhat of a grasp on things, it would change.
Yeah. It's like programming.
It's like, and to me, I was getting too old to.
You're better off just leaving it to them.
Yeah, just let the engineers handle it. Yeah.
So Poker SuperStars Invitational happens. You do 3 seasons. It was a big hit, obviously.
It was.
Lots of great poker personalities on that show. And I think next was High Stakes Poker.
Poker SuperStars after that was High Stakes Poker.
Yeah, so tell me about High Stakes Poker. I know there's a great story here.
The High Stakes Poker was, it happened because the network, game show network, GSN, actually wanted us, they did some poker, and it was Celebrity Poker. I don't know who did it for them.
Celebrity Poker Showdown?
I'm going back 16 years, and I'm getting old. I
feel like Dave Foley hosted Celebrity Poker Showdown on Bravo.
It was on. That wasn't on GSN.
But GSN had something like that was similar to it.
So they wanted they wanted to have some other ideas for poker, and we came up with a gimmicky idea for them, and we did a pilot where a pro would play 3 or 4 amateurs, and I'm talking real amateurs.
Yeah.
And the amateurs had some lifelines. So, like, basically, they had like 4 or 5 advantage cards. Called it a sneak a peek. And, like, if you turn it over, you had to show them one of your cards.
Oh, okay.
Change the flop. Like the new flop. And things like that. So
you're evening the playing field.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had, like, wizards. At that time, we brought David Sklansky and Mike Caro to be the wizards. Sit in the back seat. And then you could actually go consult with the wizard. What do I do? Like,
oh, okay.
And then we could hear them. They would say, you know what? He raises you before the flop. Now comes the, ace, jack, 4. I know you got the 2 queens, but, like, blah, blah, blah. And they come back and, like, trying to. I mean, the idea was to make it fun and make it educational at the same time.
But almost like a game show, people would try to be on the show and play against the pro.
Right. So I had fun. I mean, the piloting of that show was a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs.
What was it
called? Beat the Pro.
Beat the Pro, okay.
And we brought different pros to play. We brought Daniel. I mean, not Daniel. We brought Antonio, Sam Grizzle.
Yeah.
And Todd Brunson. Mm-hmm. So they were all. It ended up not coming out well. Sometimes you feel like it's going to work and it's not. And they came and watched the pilot. They sat there. We tried to do the best we could. And then we all went to dinner. I know in the back of their mind, we could see from their facial expressions, this didn't go that well. Like, they gave us a little bit of money to do this pilot. And we spent some of our own money.
So now you got to sell it.
It wasn't going. It was not going to happen because it just came out a little too cheesy, maybe. Mm-hmm. So as we are having dinner, Johnny Chan walks up. He sees us having dinner. He comes over and, hey, hello, hi.
He recognizes you.
Yeah. And just poker players talking. He says, I just lost a $700,000 pot. At Omaha, this was my hand. The guy had a full wrap. Blah, blah, blah. This came up. Whatever. He lost, 7. It was 4-way action, 100,000 for the flop. He tells the story really quickly and leaves. We couldn't sell the pilot that we worked on for 4 months. Johnny's story on this cash game settles with these guys because now that is amazing. When you come, from outside and you hear someone saying that, lost a $700,000 pot. So wait a second, say that again?
Yeah.
Real money, real cash on the table, $700,000. You don't mean $7, do you? No. I mean, I know wheels started turning their heads. I didn't know that, but after that conversation. So I get a phone call the next day from the director of programming. It says, your friend came over and said that story. Cash game. What was he playing? I said he was playing cash game. He said, what is a cash game? I explained to him. That's what we do every day. That's our office. We go in and we sit down.
People don't realize back then no one knew the difference between tournaments and cash games.
Because they even referred to the chips as dollars in tournaments. They didn't make it clear it was tournaments.
It wasn't until 2008 that Card Player took the dollar signs off of our chip counts.
We took a lot of we never had dollar signs.
Yeah.
The first prize was $500,000. The guy was bidding $3 million. It didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
So people thought, for a long time, tournaments are cash games. When I explained to them what cash games were, the guy said, "Do you think something like that can work?" And I said, "Oh my God! Well, of course it can work. Why wouldn't it work?" It was like exactly what the guys do. They're so good at it. Nobody has to be scripted. Nobody has to be told what to do. Just do what you've been doing.
Yeah.
And with the right people, how much fun do we have at the tables? I mean, seriously. I mean, you sit down in the right table. I was just playing last night, playing a poker game. It was so much fun. Everybody was, it was a group of friends. They can needle each other. And sky's the limit how much fun it can be. So that was...
So after that, you're off and running with high stakes.
Absolutely. I immediately put a group together that was, pretty fun group. And, no cash game is, you're doing a high stakes poker. It can't be all pros. There's no such thing as a cash game all pros. The tournament's all pros.
Yeah, the pros wouldn't play if it was all pros.
Right. I mean, they want to play with some recreational players. And you don't have to have half the tables. It can be 1 or 2 recreational players. That's good enough. It gets the game started.
Yeah.
So we always like that combination. To have 1 or 2 recreational players, the rest can be pros of different skills and different expertise of the game. And I'm hoping for a lot more of that to come, and especially in the future, I'm really trying to push limit games. I know we have not done due diligence to introduce limit games to the world.
Not just Hold'em, but all mixed games.
It doesn't matter. It starts with limit games, and it can go into mixed games. People don't understand how fun limit can be, and people don't understand how exciting limit can be. Because if you talk to outside a poker group, and you talk about limit, fixed limit, what happened about that going all in? Well, yeah, that goes out, but so much other stuff comes in that you just might enjoy watching, that comes in the limit games.
Not only that, but it goes back to what you were saying about, the personalities at the table. Limit, especially mixed games, because it's more mechanical, you don't really have to decide, you don't have to decide the size of your bet, or, there's not, tells aren't really as big of a thing. People can be more themselves, they can laugh, they can joke at the table. You know what I mean?
And imagine Phil Hellmuth can go off on a rant like 10 times an hour, because in limit games you take so many beats.
Yeah, he can rant against the deck. Yeah. You've obviously, been responsible for some of the biggest shows in poker. After Poker After Dark, after High Stakes Poker was Poker After Dark, which crushed the ratings at midnight or 1 o'clock or whatever it was on. National Heads Up Poker Championship, Pro-Am Equalizer, Doubles Poker Championship, Super High Roller Bowl, WSOP, WSOP Europe. You've been everywhere. You've done it all. What's your favorite?
Well,
is that fair? It's like picking one of your kids?
Well, my favorite is because of the games that I play. My personally is high stakes poker, because it's pure cash game. But all the Poker After Dark games that we're doing now are cash games. So to me, they're all really dear to my heart. Yeah. That's the culture I come from.
Also, cash is good because you can get out of there at a set time.
True, exactly.
I know how you really think, Maury. You hate those tournaments because they might go to 4 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. The older you get, harder it becomes.
There's a hard stop time when it comes to cash games.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get up anytime.
Keeps the budget low.
But, all the games are. These new games that are coming up.
Do you have a favorite hand from high stakes poker?
The favorite hand was aces and kings of when Sammy Farah had aces and Jamie Gold had kings.
Oh, I remember, right? When Jamie was like Hollywooding, even though he had the worst of it, and then Sam was acting.
First 10 seconds, everybody at that table and every single person that watching, even if he hadn't shown the whole cards, knew exactly what those two hands were.
Yeah.
First 10 seconds. Yet the hand lasted 16 minutes.
If I remember correctly, it was like a raise 3-bet by Sammy, and then Jamie called, and then Jamie checked dark before the flop. Sammy bet, and then Jamie raised dark before the flop had even been put out.
And Sam is like trying to talk him into, like calling the rest of his chips before he does anything. Jamie goes, "You got aces, don't you?" In other words, he's saying, "I got kings."
Yeah.
He didn't realize when he asked, it's Jamie, not real tricky player. But when you're asking somebody, "You got aces, don't you?" That means you got kings. So everybody knew, that's aces versus kings. But again, it was so entertaining.
What was it, like a $300K, $400K pot?
It was a big pot. I'd say probably around 300 or 400. Yeah.
That's crazy. You got kind of screwed over by Black Friday. Lost out on a deal for the Onyx Cup, and there was, a lot of projects that went by the wayside after Black Friday. How's the poker landscape looking these days for televised poker?
Well, I've been lucky twice, outside of playing poker, with the business of poker. I think Henry was the first time, somebody coming in that had the passion and had the means to change our world as we knew it. And now another person has come in. So full circle, he is doing that and much more. He really, by he I mean Kerry Katz.
Okay, I was going to guess, but I didn't want to be presumptuous.
No, Kerry truly loves the game. He's Henry was a 7-card stud player. Kerry is an all-limit hold'em player, so he's playing the most popular game.
Kerry likes the all-ins.
I like to say that we probably attracted him to the game by our shows. So
there you go. You recruited him,
but he has so much passion and so much vision, so much that he is invested in us being successful, moving poker forward. I always thought, even if you asked me a few years ago, I thought there would be more poker on TV and more broadcast than ever before. Not because of I knew something like this was going to happen. Somebody's going to come in, another poker angel from the sky that comes in and lifts the game up. But the game itself is not the kind of game that goes away. The game itself is so strong, and it grabs you so hard when you're playing it. You're going to play the rest of your life. It's not you learn the game, you just don't put it on your shelf. It's like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
You may slow down, but you go back to it. So, but even the game, I thought it was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen at this massive scale.
Right. A whole channel, a whole
look,
network.
We were doing maybe at our peak. I'm going to talk about 2009 when poker was booming. And we had high stakes. We were doing business with NBC for Heads Up Championship, ESPN, WSOP, GSN, high stakes poker, and looking for more opportunities here and there. We were doing maybe 170 hours of poker and producing, live 170 episodes of poker. I think that's going to be like what we do in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much we're doing. And of course, all the majors that got added on, Super High Roller Bowl, Poker Masters, US Poker Open, these are really good for poker.
Yeah.
These are like design. And they're all in infancy. Every year it's going to get better, and people are going to have inputs, and they're going to make it better and better. I mean, the fact that US Poker Open had mixed games, that was like so unbelievable.
And that was a crazy tournament because I saw some people playing that tournament I haven't seen in years play anything.
They should have, yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So look forward to more and more of these kind of new innovations. Not I shouldn't call them innovations in the tournaments, but look for different structures, faster games, but mainly attract the heroes of the game and bring them all under the same roof.
I've got some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Some quick questions for
Sure.
you, rapid fire. Have you ever seen anybody freeze up on camera? You ever get a player come in and it was like, it was all talk and they were the next big thing and they saw the camera and they just couldn't handle it?
Just momentarily. I mean, I think they forget the camera. That's, again, it's the game. The game drags them in, and they forget the cameras are even there. I really believe no matter who sits at a poker table, they may think for the first, 4 or 5 hands that somebody's looking at my whole cards, the whole world is looking at me. But as soon as they get bluffed one hand or there's an opportunity like raise and they get called and they win a pot, it's all we're playing.
Yeah, it's just poker.
Yeah, it's just like saying the golfer is looking at the camera. They're not. They're
What about
looking at
like
the pin.
You ever notice anybody playing differently because of the camera?
Again, I believe that they start out playing differently, but they realize that's a mistake.
I'm always worried, even when I do live updates, that when I walk up to a table, someone's going to notice me and go, oh, now I'm going to make a play because he's here to record it. So in my brain, I'm like, maybe people get on TV and they're like, well, this is my chance. Yeah. This is my chance to pull off the big bluff of the century with everyone watching,
I mean, look, WSOP is a good example. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't happen in Poker After Dark and Aria High Rollers.
No,
Super
those
High
players
Roller
know
Bowl.
better.
These guys are all seasoned veterans. But WSOP, we will go catch a random table because there's a hero in it and bring it to the feature table. Mm-hmm. And I see that the guys are excited. I mean, there may be 5 unknowns at that table that have never been in a table with whole cams and everything else. It takes them no more than 5 minutes.
Even them, yeah.
Even them. I mean, these are completely random strangers, 99% recreational players, and just going right into the program and they start playing. And
now they're a TV star. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have any, but what's the worst idea you've ever had for poker on TV?
No, I had some bad ideas. I had an idea of showing the ability of pros reading amateurs. And I'd invited 3 models and 2 pros I don't want to mention the pros. But they were
didn't do a good job?
high-end, very, very, very high-end pros. And actually had Norman, Chad, to be one of the, be with the models. Mm-hmm. So the way it worked, we dealt 3 deuces and 1 ace. We completely mixed them. And we mixed the cards and have each contestant take a card and look at it. So 3 of them had deuce, 1 had an ace.
Okay.
And the pros, by looking at them and asking questions for 1 minute, should try to guess who had the ace. And it didn't exactly work out right. As a matter of fact, we filmed it for like 4 hours and we didn't air it because not that they made, it was very hard for them obviously to guess. And the models got pretty good at faking it.
It's that's not quite the same as hand reading, where you have the information.
True. It was my mistake, of course, because hand reading is not just about.
But your way is a much easier way to sell a TV show.
Yeah, it was
It
simple. If I tried to actually have them play poker, they would have read them right every time.
Yeah.
Because it's just simple deduction of things that can't happen.
You should have just put Jamie Gold on the other side.
They would have guessed everything. Yeah.
You got aces? All right. When you're dealing with call times and like a big production crew, how do you deal with poker players who are late and flaky? Because they all are. Let's be honest, right?
Well, thank God, since I've been taken over, I don't deal as much.
Yeah.
With that.
But you spent years making phone calls.
True.
Yeah.
I did spend years, and I learned with poker players, you give them 3 months notice, and then you give them 30 days notice and 1 week notice. But the most important notice was the night before, and even more important, that was the morning of. Jeez. Because they could still say, "Oh, you mean 2 o'clock? Oh, I thought you meant like whatever."
Exactly.
And those days, most of the shows were not live. So if they were late a little bit, they were late.
That's money.
But now if you're talking live, we can't be late. We got to roll.
Yeah.
The poker players have gotten a lot better. I mean, I have to admit the younger crowd are so much more punctual, and they're we can depend on them quite a bit more. Also, I'm not, like I said. Now there's one other gentleman that's taken the heat on that. His name is Brent Hanks.
Brent's the phone call guy now.
He's
well, he's connected. He's in the world.
Yeah, he's taken that off of my plate, and I appreciate that so much. That's not an easy job, and you all know it.
I'm not sure if you would admit to this, but have you ever had footage scrapped or deleted by player request?
No, because we can't let the players produce the shows.
No, of course not. But I'm wondering if anybody ever had something bad happen.
Yes, something that we tried the very first time that we went to World Series of Poker Live. We went final table. We were doing live shows on ESPN. Mm-hmm. It was 30-minute delay. So
this is a prelim?
This is the final table.
Okay, the main event final table.
Right. So players had coaches. And they would go to the rail, talk to their coaches. One of the players' coach was Vanessa Selfs. What she didn't realize was when they're talking to them, it was going to air. So if she gave the player an advice without covering his mic, and said, "Hey, C2 is really bluffing every time. He's on the button. It's like raising just you gotta play back at him or something like that." Well, he's gonna hear 30 minutes from now that you said that. So Vanessa gives some advice. I don't exactly know what it was, and I was sitting in the back. All of a sudden, she comes in panicking that, "Well, I just said this. I didn't realize his mic was on." Mm-hmm. So strategy we're discussing is going to be, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, luckily we had enough technology, in 30 days we were able to go in there and mute the mic so you actually couldn't hear. You could just hear the room noise, but you couldn't hear the conversation. That's as close as ever come for
That's
us taking.
That's fair. And because it's an advantage to, a disadvantage to specific, right. I think Jesse Sylvia was the player.
I can't remember. I think so, though.
Greg Merson was the year he beat Jesse Sylvia heads up.
Yeah,
I can't. It makes sense if it was Vanessa and Jesse, but I don't know. That seems totally reasonable.
Right. I mean, I just remember that off the top of my head, and nothing else. Nothing else has come out of the live games. But in the post-production, we've doing high stakes. Obviously, all the 4 letters, that we don't want it to be in there comes out. And sometimes players will tell a story that they don't realize, like when you're telling the story, it better be true, or you can get in trouble. And when I called them, I said, "Is this true?" No. I said, "You know what?
Now we can't use it.
Yeah,
it's going to turn into a libel suit or something."
Yeah, exactly. Let's not say that.
Let's. I have some questions that are usually, for the playing side, but they apply to you as well. Who's the best poker player we've never heard of?
Never heard of.
Is there a guy back from, when you were grinding who was just killing it and never got any credit? Or is there somebody today who you see that's going to be the next big thing that we're not talking about yet?
Unfortunately, since I'm not really playing as much,
Mm-hmm.
I play at the Bellagio once in a while, play the no limit hold'em game. The mixed games, the limit games are all the same cast of characters, but in no limit hold'em games, I see people come and go. I can't really tell you if there's one that I can pinpoint.
Mm-hmm.
If I was playing a lot, I would have known. There's some grinders out there that never seen.
What about a guy back in the 80s and 90s who impressed you? Somebody who
played no limit.
Anything.
I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about playing no limit.
Doesn't matter. Somebody who paid the bills playing cards.
Oh, let me tell you. I have true admirations for so many of these true grinders.
Yeah.
That people don't know they exist.
The anonymous, just go
there
play
are
10,
so
20
many
limit
of
every
them.
day.
Off the top of my head, I can name 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people like Greg Aubin and Don Zoen and there's so many that just make. If I've seen them in 1985, which is what we're talking about 32 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and I see them still, and they still report to work every day. They look for a game. They play good, honest poker. They don't give anybody trouble. They're just, to me, that's
right.
So admirable. I mean, it really is. These guys
punch the clock.
Exactly.
Take your money,
sit down, and they've been winning for 30-some years. How can they not be? I mean, I have truly high regards for all those guys.
There should be one of those guys in the Poker Hall of Fame. They should give an honorary spot to
I sure hope
the guy who just barely profits every year
no,
for
no.
50,
I agree. I've always
years.
said that. I always said the grinders that have been working, and I see them. I still see them. I mean, Jack. I don't know Jack's last name. I just saw him outside of the I saw him in the poker room, then I saw him in the grocery store. I said, man, you still do the same thing and do it the same way, and you've done it since Stardust when I was playing. And sure enough, he grabs his lunch, he comes to the table and he sits down and he's playing. So amazing. It is.
Are there any poker rules that you're not a fan of?
I'm not a fan of any rule that doesn't protect the recreational players.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of any rules that pros can use against the recreational players. When I was...
This goes back to you protecting the
tourists. Yeah, when I was a host, at the Mirage, and then temporarily at the Bellagio when it opened up. That's one thing I looked at. It was very dear, and I took that very seriously because that was the whole ball game.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to call something on a recreational player and you were a pro, shame on you. I mean, are you kidding me? Just forget it. Right. That's not how it works.
Even today with asking to see an amateur's hand,
terrible.
Yeah, you may be within your rights, but what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Absolutely terrible. Or making him put the extra chip in there or something. The
only person who can see that guy's hand is Henry.
Yeah. Right.
Let's see. What was the worst job you had before poker? I hope it wasn't president of poker production.
Worst job I ever had. I mean, I delivered newspapers. It was
on bike?
No, actually running. I loved running. I just take the patch and run up and down the stairs.
Really?
But I mean, I can't really think of any job that I hated.
Probably some of those failed businesses that didn't work out.
Oh, okay, that's not. Yeah, well, that was still exciting to do. One of the failed businesses was pickle business. And I always said it went sour. I found these pickles that were so delicious and reminded me of my childhood pickles. Mm-hmm. And it was in Portland, Oregon. And I decided, you know what, let me take a few of these jars down to Los Angeles. Maybe the Middle Eastern communities would like that. And I made my own logo, and we put it on the jars and drove down.
Special Iranian pickles?
Yeah. It was actually German pickle.
Oh, okay.
But it was very, very good. I mean, it tasted so good. And that was one of the experiences that I'd rather forget, because it took like a couple of months. And as soon as I entered the world of California, trying to go to different stores, they all played me. It was like I got outplayed every store. Let's put it that way.
I'm just picturing you in front of a Shark Tank panel, just pitching pickles, and trying to get funding. It's pretty good. Let's see here. When you're playing at the table, do you listen to headphones at all?
No.
When you do listen to headphones or music, what are you listening to?
Believe it or not, I like all sort of musics. It's not. When you look at my everything, mm-hmm. I mean, I don't. I like the soft 70s.
Okay.
Because obviously, tons of memories.
Everyone likes the music from their youth.
Right, of course. Your teenage years and soft 70s always. That's always going to stay the dearest. Mm-hmm. But I love
a lot of
country
Fleetwood
music. I absolutely love country. The storytelling, country music songs.
Really?
That's by far some of my favorite songs.
Who's your favorite country artist?
Garth.
Garth, okay. Yeah. Not that, what was the name? Clint Gaines? What was his alter ego name? Remember when Garth Brooks had an alter ego? It was like a fake name.
Oh, is that? I didn't know that.
Come on, I got to look this up. This was so funny. Because he grew a fake beard. You know what I mean? Like a real thin one.
Well, let me see.
I have one more question. His name is Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines.
He was a fictional rock persona for Garth Brooks. We end the podcast the same way every time, with a question from the random question generator. And I've chosen one from TV for you, because I think is pretty good. Let's see, random TV question. Okay. If you could bring back one TV show that was canceled, not your own.
Any TV show.
Any TV show that's been canceled, what would you bring back?
Wild Wild West.
What's Wild Wild West?
Oh,
Is that like what they based the Will Smith remake on?
No. Yeah, that's correct. Yes, Wild Wild West with Robert Conrad was the first.
That was your show,
was the start. That was the show. I loved the Wild Wild West.
Was it like the movie where the bad guy had all these mechanical contraptions and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, it was that.
And the series of Wild Wild West with James West, and Artemis Gordon, whatever. If you remember the open of that show, they would show a part of what was coming and freeze it.
Okay.
Now, I did that in high stakes poker.
You
Nobody
did?
noticed it. Yeah, because that was so dear to me. I actually had Sammy Farha putting a unlit cigarette in his mouth and then freeze it.
Yeah. Yeah. An homage to Wild Wild West.
Exactly. So that was like a little shout out.
Wild West. Are you going to cast it? I mean, obviously you can't have the original cast play their roles.
Cast for what? I'm not
for Wild Wild West. You got who's going to play Jim West?
Yeah,
can't
there
be.
You go. Yeah.
Will Smith's too old now.
Who do I bring for Wild Wild West?
That's a tough question. I won't hold you to answering it. Maury, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was great.
My pleasure.
That's the show. Thanks again to Maury for the stories. You can see what Maury and Poker Productions are up to these days on Poker Go, which is putting out a ton of new content, including episodes of Poker After Dark. If you like what you heard, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. If you go the extra mile and leave a rating and a review, let us know about it with an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com and get hooked up with a free digital subscription to the magazine. Thanks for listening. Attention American poker players. Do you want to legally cash out your poker winnings to PayPal? Then head to globalpoker.com and see why it's the fastest growing site for US players. That's globalpoker.com.